50 attendees. We are excited to share that each honoree is also receiving a $1,000 classroom grant. Thank you for everything you do.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The city of Atlanta is sending help to Jamaica after Category 5 storm Hurricane Melissa hit the island nation hard.
We have no lights, we have no water, and we have limited amount of food items.
Falcons owner Arthur Blank donated $2.5 million, and the Jamaican consulate launched a relief drive. A black cosmetologist is suing Empire Beauty School in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, saying a classmate with Tourette syndrome repeatedly shouted racial slurs. Yamani Presley says the school dismissed the harassment as involuntary and failed to protect her rights. And 3 years after Shanquella Robinson's death in Mexico, her family is still demanding justice. Despite a viral video and autopsy showing assault, the FBI closed the case. Black attorney Sue Ann Robinson says they won't stop until there's accountability. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Yes, I am flying solo today on this side of the glass, but not on the other side. Keeping me company and keeping me in line is General Manager Justin Lewis. He's here keeping things in line and keeping me in shape. And I am happy to be blessed with yet another day from my Lord. Here to be with you. I hope you're awake and alert. I hope this is not a dream for you. You are listening to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. So today is the third day of early voting. Early voting started on Saturday, and it continued yesterday. And today is Tuesday, so this is the third day of early voting. So you have a choice of early voting locations where you can cast your votes, plural, and you can even go to City Hall and vote there, and there's free parking for 1 hour if you're there to vote. Do be careful. You have to park right there on Perdido or LaSalle and park for no more than 1 hour, or you could get into some trouble. So it's not a place to go and hang out in City Hall all day long, but you might be able to take care of some business other than voting and get back out before 59 minutes and hitting that 1 hour mark. So want to make sure you know about that, of course, because we have important elections. We will be deciding to have the incumbent criminal district court clerk, Darren Lombard, return for another term, or choose his challenger, Calvin Duncan, to become the new clerk of criminal district court. Over in Council District A, Councilman Joe Giarrusso is stepping down and going into the private sector, doing more law work. He has two former staffers who won his seat. They're in a runoff. That's Holly Friedman and Amy McCarron. So you might have missed the conversation we had with them last week, but it was recorded and it is on the station's Facebook page. We also have, seeking to represent those of you who live in District E, the people who want to follow or succeed City Councilman Oliver Thomas. That's State Representative Jason Hughes and former City Councilwoman Cindy Nguyen. So those are the people that you'll be considering for election. And whoever votes will be the people who will be making those decisions. So be sure to check your ballot before you go to the polls, whether you vote early already, have voted early already, or vote early today or through November 8th, the last day of early voting. And as always, there's another option for you to consider, and that is the mail ballot. You can request the mail ballot if you're eligible anytime between now and November 12th. But you have to return it no later than November 14th. So 4:30 p.m. on November 14th. So that's a tight window, November 12th to November 14th. But you don't have to make it that tight. You can request your mail ballot now, and you can have that in your pocket to use that form of voting, or you can vote early or vote in person on November 15th. Those of you who want to learn more about that and get your ballot requested, you can visit pcej.org/VBM. That's Vote by Mail. And that is the Power Coalition site. It's a very thorough site. It's a very good site, and lays out information about the mail ballot option without telling you who to vote for. The interest of the Power Coalition, as it is for so many of us, is to get folks out to vote. Unfortunately, there normally is a huge drop-off between a general election like the one we had on October 11th and the runoff election or other election that we have on November 15th. And why is that? Well, we got a whole lot of people who don't think their vote matters. And we got a lot of people who think the votes that mattered have already been cast with the October election. So it is true that you, those of you who voted, likely voted for mayor, likely voted for city council at large, and city council to represent your respective districts, and also voted for an assessor and a sheriff. But those are just parts of what we voted on. The voting continues this month with some important power seats, the clerk and 2 council members. So some of us get to vote on the clerk, Orleans Parish-wide. If you live in District A, you get to vote for your council representative and the clerk. And if you live in District E, you get to vote for the council representative and the clerk. But as we've been telling you pretty much every day in recent days, we have some very important propositions on the ballot as well. So that's the affordable housing proposition, $45 million bond for 30 years. And we also have a couple of other propositions. One is the proposition number 2 for $415 million. So that is for the city infrastructure. And then we have number 3, that's $50 million for drainage and stormwater. There are other measures on the ballot. We'll be talking about those, but want to make sure that you're gulping a little bit at a time, sipping perhaps on this important election information so that you can be engaged and be knowledgeable and perhaps share your knowledge. And I'd love to hear from anybody who has already voted, whether it was Saturday or Monday, and let us know how things looked when you were out there. And if you have questions about the election, feel free to call. We welcome your questions. We'll do our best to give you an answer or get you an answer, but if not, we'll definitely respond. I'm Will Sutton. This is the Good Morning Show, WBOK 1230 AM, and I want to make sure that you know a little bit more about some of the news that we've got going on. So there was a man arrested. Initially, it was supposed to be a suicide, but it turns out that a man was dead. And that happened earlier on Monday, and police responded to the scene, and that was 7,000 block of Lawrence Road. All right, so the death was determined a homicide within a couple of hours. So if you all are listening on AM radio, we thank you for listening. And if you are on internet, we thank you for listening there. We do have some systems down, so want to make you aware that we are aware of that, but we're going to keep going. And we do want to let you know about some other news. We have a great-grandfather who was killed in Laplace. It was a hit and run, and unfortunately, the 66-year-old bicyclist was undiscovered for a number of days, and they didn't know much about the incident. Figured it was a hit and run, and they were looking for a suspect. Well, they found their suspect, and Carrion Joseph Jr., 19 years old, was booked yesterday with hit and run driving causing serious injury or death. And the authorities say that Joseph was behind the wheel of a 2018 Dodge Charger that hit John Martin of Monts while Martin was walking alongside his bicycle on East 5th Street. Very unfortunate for Mr. Martin, and very unfortunate for this young man that for whatever reason he hit and killed this gentleman and is now under arrest. Apparently didn't stop to help him, kept moving along, and there's no bail information, but Mr. Martin was a husband and grandfather of 13 and a great-grandfather to 1. And he was reported missing way back on October 23rd, but relatives in St. Charles Parish hadn't seen him. And then his body was found on the side of the road. So most unfortunate situation over there. We told you earlier about a 2-month-old girl that had broken ribs and internal bleeding from a severed spine. And that child's mom was charged, we told you that, with first-degree murder, cruelty to juveniles, and second-degree battery. But police were looking for the dad. Well, they are looking for him no more because Taylor Broussard turned himself in. He was wanted in connection with this case. He turned himself in to authorities on charges of first-degree murder, cruelty to juveniles, and second-degree battery, the same as the mother. And Mr. Broussard has been booked in the St. Landry Parish Jail. So he and the kid's mom, Kaylee Fortunat, were booked on those charges. The 2-month-old died October 25th and was not breathing when responding to a medical call, and she was pronounced dead at a hospital a short time after that. So that case is moving along, and if you have any more information about that, as always, the authorities would like to hear from you so that they can find out more about how this came to be, what led to this situation. So the Opelousas Police Department phone number is 337-948-2500, 337-948-2500, and the St. Landry Crime Stoppers number is 337-948-8477, 337-948-8477. So we pray for that 2-year-old, and we hope that the parents tell the truth about what was happening, and that the justice system works in this case. I know you all heard about all the monkeys that were escaped from a truck that turned over. And, well, actually, only some of them escaped, but it was like this crazy situation where a truck was moving a lot of monkeys from one place to another on a Mississippi highway. And these monkeys, they've been infected. They're part of research, so infected for all kinds of research purposes. But when that happened, the truck turned over, and some of the monkeys got away. So the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks got involved, as did the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. And one new development is that Jessica Bond Ferguson said that she was alerted on Sunday that her 16-year-old son said he thought he had seen a monkey running in a yard. A monkey running in their yard at home in Heidelberg. So she got out of bed, grabbed a firearm and cell phone, stepped outside to see where the monkey was. It was about 60 feet away. And she fired her gun. She fired her gun. What would you do? Would you fire your gun if you saw a monkey in the yard? A monkey, even without this news about the truck turning over with all the monkeys and monkeys escaping. Would you have fired the gun at the monkey? Well, Ms. Bond Ferguson said, I did what any other mother would do to protect her children. I shot at it, and it just stood there, and I shot again, and he backed up, and that's when he fell. Well, Bond Ferguson has 5 kids, ranging from 4 to 16. And so Mama Bear was looking out for her kids and had a weapon available and took things into her own hands and shot and killed the monkey. So these monkeys had been housed at Tulane University National Biomedical Research Center here in New Orleans. And they regularly provide monkeys and other primates for scientific research at other organizations. But Tulane said the monkeys do not belong to the university, and they were not being transported by the university. So they had been housed at the Tulane University National Biomedical Research Center, but they said they were not their monkeys. So I guess that means they were being provided to some organization, and that organization was responsible for the monkeys once they left Tulane. But these are not rhesus monkeys, and they weigh about 16 pounds. So that's a size of larger than some small dogs, not as big as some much larger dogs. And but they got help from the mom to kill the one monkey, and so that one monkey is no more, and police are still investigating to see what's going on with that. I think I told you yesterday about the shooting in Little Woods early morning. Police found that a man was shot in New Orleans East. And if you have any information about that, Crime Stoppers wants to hear from you about that. So make sure you put that in on your checklist if you have information about that. It is a big day in Baton Rouge, because the Louisiana Board of Supervisors is scheduled to choose a new president. So this president would succeed Dr. Tate, William F. Tate IV, who of course left LSU and now heads a much larger university, Rutgers University. And the board has been fielding candidates and had candidates in to visit just in the recent days. And that included Dr. Robert Robbins, former president of University of Arizona, James Dalton, executive vice president and provost of the University of Alabama, and Dr. Wade Roos, I think I'm saying that wrong, the president of McNeese State University. Some people say he has the inside track, and it's his position to lose. They have different ideas about how they would lead LSU. The guy from McNeese, Dr. Wade Roos, has emphasized his significant business background, and he wants to court more companies to fund research and institute metrics for success across the Louisiana State University system. And he says that, you got to be politically savvy to do that. Dr. Dalton says he's focused on a student-centric approach, and he'll be advocating for more services to help the student graduation and success rates. And Dr. Robbins says he wants to double LSU research funding and says he believes that is an achievable goal. And he points to what he was able to do in his time at Arizona. So this president, whoever they select later today, will follow former LSU president William Tate IV. He left earlier this year for Rutgers. And Dr. Tate was responsible for a significant expansion of research activity at LSU, and that translated into about $540 million in research activity. That's a lot of money. And most of that was from federal grants. The record amount was nearly $200 million higher than in 2020. So that's quite an achievement in the time that we had with Dr. Tate at the helm. And so one of these presidential candidates says he wants to double that. He thinks that that is doable. One of the reasons that the McNeese State guy is perceived as a favorite candidate is because he has a friendly person who is perceived to favor him as the candidate for the job. And that person is none other than Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. So the Landry administration and the governor himself have not said anything about this particular candidate or the other candidates that I'm aware of. And some LSU supporters seem to like his credentials, but they're concerned that McNeese is such a smaller university, and the incumbent president there has not had significant research background, more business background than research. So the LSU Board of Commissioners will be on track for finalizing their decisions, and we'll see what happens with that. Don't think it will be before the end of the show today, but I expect that we'll have an update tomorrow. We hope to have Piper Hutchinson from Louisiana Illuminator, who has been following this story quite closely. So what else do we have? Well, we have the state of Louisiana looking at an affordable child care program that is running out of money. Yep. An affordable child care family program is running out of money. That's about 1,000 Louisiana families who could lose access to affordable, high-quality child care within 5 years, according to the state legislature, if they, that's according to the report. And the report says that the state legislature would have to put more money into this program if it is to survive. The producer of the report is the Early Childhood Education Fund, and their primary goal is to help communities invest in affordable child care by matching local funding dollar for dollar. But the way they're looking at it is the state isn't funding the program enough, and according to their analysis by Leaders for a Better Louisiana, and that's a nonpartisan organization, this program could be in trouble. So there are about 2,000 children in 14 parishes that receive this child care financed through a match program. And there's a one-time appropriation of $40 million in 2023. And local governments contribute about $30 million to the fund. But participation in the fund has grown by 18% over the past 2 years. So that funding is likely to be depleted by 2030 at the latest, even if the number of children served remains flat. So even without serving more children, this could run flat. So the report suggests that lawmakers, legislators, allocate $30 million annually for the program, and some see that as a big ask of the legislature because they already made $10 million in cuts to early education earlier this year. So that is certainly something to be concerned about when you think about how our legislators cut early childhood education, and now they're being asked to put up $30 million more for this program after cutting $10 million. That is indeed a big ask. And Barry Irwin, who's president of Leaders for a Better Louisiana, put it this way: more families are going to have to make decisions about their work arrangements, which could mean dropping out of the workforce, and it's going to mean fewer kids are being served in high-quality settings. After all, as many of you all know, when there are early childhood child care opportunities, oftentimes that allows one or both parents to go to work And if that child care is not provided, uh, well, they probably have to reduce their hours or get rid of their hours and leave the job. And that totally changes the family dynamic for their financial status and how they can serve and provide for the family. And that's even more troubling in cases where it's a single parent household. So if the mom or the dad, in that case, can't work, that really puts a family on edge. And so that's why this group is suggesting funding $30 million annually. Now, where would the legislature look to get that money? Well, with the kind of challenges we're facing, who knows where that might come from. But they're throwing up a warning flag and letting people know that you need to look more into it. So if you want to know more about that, check out my colleague Elise Caramosino. She's out of Baton Rouge, and she's reported on that. And you can find that on theadvocate.com in Baton Rouge and NOLA.com in New Orleans. That's very troubling news that we have. What's on your mind? Any of these stories striking you all? Any of these things that you know about? Anything that you did not know about? I'm Will Sutton. This is WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. Hope you're having a good morning. It is 7:40 a.m. Don't forget, the school zones are in effect. That means lower speeds around those schools. Be safe on the highways and the byways and the streets and the roads, and make sure that you are being safe and trying to keep yourself safe, keep the others safe, and making sure that the kiddos, the babies out there going to school, are safe. You got somewhere to be at 7:45. You got just a few minutes. You're in much better shape if you can get there by 8. We'd love to hear from you. 504-582-9422. This is WBOK 1230 AM, and I am Will Sutton. Let's see what else we got. We have a New Orleans special education program that, there's some problems. So there's some problems with the education of special education children. And it looks like there's been a federal monitor to track special ed in New Orleans schools. And more parents are having issues with getting the special education services that are required for their children. And a lot of this has happened since the overhaul of the school system since Hurricane Katrina. Earlier this year, the Orleans Parish School Board and Louisiana Department of Education asked the court to end the federal monitoring, which they say is no longer necessary because schools have met agreed upon special education standards for 8 consecutive years. And by the way, that's according to Marie Fazio of NOLA.com. That story just went up this morning. If you want to follow along with me or catch up along the way, there are a number of things that would be of interest to you, because the Southern Poverty Law Center, which filed the initial lawsuit on behalf of the families, says that over the past decade, they've been serving roughly 16% of district students who have disabilities, 16% of our total student school population. However, they say the problems are still existing, and these students are not receiving legally mandated services that our school district is not providing. So the Southern Poverty Law Center does not want to see an end to federal oversight. No end to the federal monitoring, because their argument is that things are not going well, and they don't want to see the end to that. Although that's what the Orleans Parish School Board and the Louisiana Department of Education want. They say they no longer need that oversight because the standards are being met. Meanwhile, the Southern Poverty Law Center says, well, not quite, and need to be doing a better job. So again, according to Marie, U.S. District Court Judge Jay Zaney, who oversees this case, has asked parents to share their experiences at a hearing next week before he decides whether to lift the oversight. So there will be a hearing. I suspect we'll be hearing more about that. And keep in mind that this, too, is tied to changes with what's happening with the federal government. Why is that? Because the U.S. Department of Education, which President Donald Trump wants to get rid of, has already scaled back a number of its programs and efforts, and that includes backing out of special education oversight federally. So Trump wants to get rid of Department of Education. Can't really do that without Congress. But meanwhile, the oversight of special education has been scaled back. So if they can't get rid of it, they're going to start pulling back on things that they traditionally have done. Part of that has been done because of federal employee layoffs. And in particular, the person in charge of the U.S. Department of Education has the authority and responsibility for assigning staff. So one way to reduce that is to reassign staff and make sure that there are a few people left to be responsible for enforcing federal special education laws. Well, that's one way to go about it. Can't get rid of the department. Move the chairs around and make dry a place that already needs some oiling to continue working. Lauren Winkler, who's a senior staff attorney with the Southern Poverty Law Center, said that there are some serious special education problems in New Orleans, even with the federal oversight. And Marie quotes her as saying, now more than ever, we need the consent judgment in place. The consent judgment shouldn't be terminated at this point, given the breadth of the issues that we're seeing across different schools and different charter networks. Hear her again. The consent judgment shouldn't be terminated at this point, given the breadth of the issues that we're seeing across different schools and different charter networks. I didn't talk to Ms. Winkler. Marie Fazio did. I think she's saying that because we have different charter networks, they're all handling these special education needs differently. And so the federal oversight needs to continue to be in place so that there can be greater enforcement, greater monitoring to make sure that the school system, the New Orleans, Louisiana public schools, are in sync with what is legally required. Marie Fazio did reach out to the public schools for a response and did not get a response. And she also reached out to the State Department of Education and got a response, which is a decline to comment, citing ongoing litigation. So that is something that to be aware of, because that is a large population, 16% of our school kids with disabilities, and possibly killing its federal monitoring oversight. We need to know more about that, and I'm sure we'll hear more in the coming days as this hearing head toward the judge. Again, this is Will Sutton. You're listening to WBOK, 1230 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. Hope you can get in on this conversation, because right now it's me talking to you, and I'm providing you some information that I hope that you will appreciate. But you are going to stick and stay with us, because we're going to have a special guest coming up at 8. And I hope you'll stick and stay with us. We've got another school district issue, and that one is dealing with some of the school buildings that were put up for sale. And I want to make sure you know about that, because that is a yippee that some buildings have been sold, but a sigh because of the price. We've got a caller. Good morning, Don.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Sutton.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you, sir?
All right, I made a couple of boo-boos.
You did?
I said, all of a sudden, I think I said went to Booker T. I'm thinking Calvin McGee, the late Calvin McGee.
I got you. No problem. No worries.
Yeah, I think he went to Xavier Prep all of a sudden.
I think that might be true. Not a relative, though.
But to Illinois or something, I read out this. I said, well, I don't know, man. New Orleans, man. You got like the Mercadales. How many Mercadales are there?
Yeah, different families.
Thousands, right?
Yep.
So those names, New Orleans, people say, well, New Orleans is not a corporate city. No, it may not be a corporate city as far as these Fortune 1000, but those family names. Trump want to put his name on everything. Trump, yep. Trump Towers, Trump College, Trump whatever, Trump hot dogs.
Yep.
He want to put his name on everything. The
Absolutely.
brands, the Heinz ketchup.
Yep.
That's a family name.
Yep.
Sears and Roebuck. Those are family names. J.C. Penney.
Yep.
Those are family names. And so when you talk about names, family names and trust, no other place I think is more prevalent than in New Orleans. And
I think you got a point there.
Yeah. I hear people, fight against, why we got to have the same names and this and that. Well, there's a standard had to be met to carry out a name in a respect. And one other boo-boo I made was, I think I said a billion seconds is, a billion seconds is, well, anyway, a million seconds is 12 days rounded up. A billion seconds is 32 years. And a trillion seconds is 32, rounded up 32,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you had to break down, you got what? Nanoseconds and picoseconds and all those things. So what my purpose of my call was to, I heard it mention another stuff. Hats off to the families who are grieving and these incidents and accidents and issues of taking someone's life. It is always, not good news. It's an error in human judgment a lot of times, the panic. But you talk about charter schools. Charter schools are not an old concept, is it? I don't think there's a charter school 50 years, 100 years ago, or whatever.
Well, there have been some charter like schools. There have been schools that have been Private, there have been schools that have been faith-based. There have been schools with particular philosophies, like Waldorf schools or Montessori schools, and those have traditionally not been public schools. What's happened more recently is that the charter school movement really became more a thing in the 1990s.
The 90s?
Yep.
Like in 1990s?
Yep.
The same year Prince put out 1999?
Yep. Now,
I'm just trying to say, when I think of the 90s, I'm thinking the Prince album, 1999 or something like that. I don't know why that came across my mind. But seriously,
but the concept,
if you look at
the concept was developed in the 70s.
Yeah, public charter schools I'm talking about. What I'm saying is right there in New Orleans, you know, you have like Ursuline Academy. There's an Ursuline in New Orleans, of course, what, the 1800s, 1850s or 1840s, if not earlier. I mean, you're talking about Catholic schools designed, formulated by order of nuns, I would imagine, orders. And then you have, I looked at the oldest public schools in the United States. I think the oldest one is up in Boston something, Man School or something. First oldest public schools. And some of the older schools founded by Catholics. You know, Catholic, are you Catholic?
I used to be.
They've been around, over 2,000 years, the Catholic.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so they have a history of the monks and all the nuns and the fathers with education and learning. But we talk about public schools, right there in New Orleans, you know, like McDonald 35 is the oldest public school that allow African Americans. I think it's over a century old. But the oldest public school in the whole, if you will, state of Louisiana but it was all male at the time, is Warren Easton.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk, but the issue, the girls wasn't allowed for the most part to get educated. So that's why you had Ursuline Academy that educated girls. It's much older than perhaps, you went to St. Augustine, right? St. Augustine, however you like to pronounce it.
I'm a St. Aug guy, 2600.
And when was St. Augustine founded?
1950.
I mean, Ursuline was what, 1830s. St. Mary is what, 150 plus years old?
Yeah.
Both of these are all girls' schools. But St. Aug don't have the longest history as these two schools.
Oh no, absolutely not. Yeah. Right.
Right, because girls wasn't allowed to be educated in public schools. It was for mainly white males. The oldest public school in the nation for African Americans is renamed Paul Laurence Dunbar. And you had people, it was like a college. You had people from all over the country going to Washington, D.C. because that was the only place that black males could get an education. So what I'm saying is these new issues bubbling up, when you talk about public charters and vouchers, public school vouchers, those exacerbate, I didn't say masturbate, I say exacerbate the issue of education that has never been addressed. Busing, underfunding of schools, and the attempt to break up unions, teacher unions, and ancillary staff unions. So what they're doing is compounding the issue. They think they're solving problems or creating new ideas, but all they're doing is really not addressing the historical issues when we talk about public education and public accommodations and resources. They're just passing the buck. This has been going on, especially in the school system. This has been going on for over a century, for 2 centuries, a century and a half. They have never addressed the issue of one child. Each child should be deserving of an high quality education. Each child, and that education starts with the parents, because the parents have the children. The children don't have the parents. Children don't select the parents. Parents, adults choose or sometimes don't choose to become parents. But that when an adult or a person who may be not an adult, underage, teenage pregnancy, which is down, become a parent, they're not alone. They should not be alone in raising that child. You know, the old saying, the African proverb, or what they want to contribute to, it takes a village to raise a child. But because that public, that community, that commonwealth should have a vested, you know what it means to be vested?
Yep.
Interest in that child and or those children. And so parents don't need much. Parents need support financially. So, and it contributes to the overall health and to the commonwealth. So when I hear about all these stories about education, it has only been manipulated and exploited to the detriment of society. When we talk about homeschool children, public charters, private, parochial, public, magnet, I mean, you have a whole smorgasbord of people bringing their slants on education, when education should be that people are productive citizens that meet the needs of a society that is ongoing. Education is an ongoing struggle for knowledge and for ideas that should be in the forefront of any civilized society. And I just thank you this morning.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Don. Appreciate your calling in. As always, bring up some interesting points, and I appreciate the course correction as well. I think it's important that when we know that we provide something that isn't quite accurate, that we come back and follow up and say what is the truth. So appreciate that, and I aim to do the same here. So you have a blessed day, Don. I hope you'll keep listening as we continue here on the Good Morning Show. Have a blessed day. All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line. The talk. Good morning. This is WBOK, the Good Morning Show. We are airing from the beautiful South Campus of Xavier University, and I am very happy to say that we've got Yvonne with us today, and Yvonne is here from the New Orleans Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Did I get it right?
Right.
All right, wonderful. So let's start with not the entire history, but a little back history, so that people will know who you have been, your organization, who you have been, and who you are, because this wasn't always the name, correct?
Yes, absolutely. The name originally was NOCOP, the New Orleans for Community Oversight of Police. Now, nothing has changed about who we are.
The name has changed.
The name did end up changing,
right,
because we became part of the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, which is a national org that was born out of the Free Angela Davis movement in the 70s. And we finally formally entered into the organization.
Good. Now, what was that process like to, have your independent organization and pushing for the things that have been important to you, and looking at that option of joining a national organization and making the decision to affiliate in that way?
Well, we've always been affiliated to the national
Oh,
organization. What we've been pushing for has been community oversight of the police. Originally, it was to keep the consent decree um, locally, which was brought about post Katrina due to the racist policing that NOPD was doing, and they was requiring federal oversight. Unfortunately, NOPD entered into a sustained period with the consent decree, so we pivoted to fight against the sustainment as it entered into federal court. Um, but they entered into sustainment, which basically meant, oh, they reached the goals of the federal oversight, which was factually not true. And the judge admitted this, that it wasn't true, that NOPD wasn't meeting the guidelines that were laid out by the federal government. And then we pivoted to having a Civilian Police Accountability Council, which is essentially a civilian body with no ties to law enforcement that would have the ability to hire and fire police officers, appoint the superintendent, and have investigatory powers when it comes to police corruption.
so what are some of the points that you and the organization believe have not been met, that you feel like the judge has admitted, yet moved the police department into the sustainable period?
Right, absolutely. One of the main things was a disproportionate policing of Black people, like specifically. Now I can't pull up the direct statistics. I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay.
But we were looking at like specifically like the policing of like let's say Black women. Like that was I believe at around like I want to say like 3 times the amount like towards white women. Like at every single margin, Black people were the most targeted. Like the demographics, like Black people make up, I believe, 40% of the New Orleans population.
More than
And
50.
like when you,
More than 50.
you're right,
Hmm.
more than 50, but the statistics were showing about like 80, 90% of the police brutality was with Black people. And what was also being shown was underreporting of police brutality used just generally, or the fact that police officers would be putting in their reports days, weeks, or even like a month after incidents happen, which, as you know, I can't even really remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. So these are inaccurate reports that are just out of pure negligence. And this police negligence is one of the things that we are hitting with the Civilian Police Accountability Council, because we actively work with families who have been victims to police corruption and negligence. One instance is Jasley Scott, who was murdered by Andrew Gant, a son of a police officer, Victor Gant, right? And this was immediately covered up by the dad. He coached him through the interviews, right? And inevitably, Andrew Gant was charged with murder, but did not serve a single day in jail. So, Sister Shantae Scott has been actively working and pushing NOPD forward with this case to get genuine justice for her son. But this is something we have to fight for. The Public Integrity Bureau, the ones who are supposed to, like police officers who are supposed to police other police, obviously aren't going to do that job for them. So this is like part of the corruption that we are actively having to fight that was evident when we are pushing for this consent decree to be held in place.
Okay. Now, it's been some time since you have been fighting for uh, a civilian police accountability council, and I think there have been some different terms used with that through the years, but the idea, the concept is the same. Do you have
Absolutely.
one or two examples from other cities where not only do they have one, but they have one that works the way that you all would like to see it work in New Orleans?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our major inspirations that we look to is Chicago. This is one of our strongholds for the National Alliance Against Racist Political Repression. It was one of the things that that chapter was fighting for, right? They worked on it for about a decade, and are now able to have that power as a community body. Um, and it is working as much as the people are making it work. Obviously, Chicago still suffers with corruption and negligence, but the people are able to have a foothold um, to get themselves listened to. Um, so, yeah, Chicago is who we're really looking at. And we know that we have a long fight ahead of us because it took about, I believe, like 10 years with Chicago. So we're looking for an uphill battle right about now, but we're not going to start. We're not going to stop, rather.
Okay. Now, in New Orleans, it's my recollection that the folks inside of the police department and outside of the police department who have said that we don't need something like this uh, because we pursue community policing, because we, the department, New Orleans department, not we, but the New Orleans Police Department, regularly pursues building community respect and trust. That is not simply about uh, uh, the investigations or arrests or charges, but it's about building that mutual trust. And so those things have been in place because of the culture of the New Orleans Police Department with its relationship to the community. Not talking about the really horrible, bad incidents, but the police department leaders, not just the current administration, but past administrations, that they believe that they have actively engaged with the community and that something like this is not needed. Chicago, if I recall correctly, it had been a similar controversy, debate, and all. And so it hasn't been that long that they've had it, only a few years that they've had it. But I believe they have it as a citywide commission or council and then some districts. If we were to move down that path, do you think that we would be okay with a citywide commission or council, or would you also be interested in having district committees or councils?
That's a good question. I'm going to start with the first part,
Okay.
right? NOPD is saying they're engaging with the community and taking these steps. I know you're saying that to maybe get into the specific like incidents, but I have to, right? As somebody who has been arrested, as somebody who has worked with several families who have been victims to NOPD's corruption and negligence, right? We're not just talking about J. Lee Scott. We're talking about Junius Coleman, right? And so many different families, you know, like Jasmine Groves and how her mom was killed because of an LPD officer sending out a hit to her mom because she was reporting stuff. Like this is a long historic, like NOPD has such a long history of not just failing families, right? And the instance of Junius Coleman, his death was ruled a suicide. And in spite of the mom, like I have sat with her looking over autopsy reports with her son and sparsing it out, right? And she has sent in report after report, basically breaking down the case for them. And they're not willing to walk back on that because they don't want to admit their wrongs. In fact, they have actively tried to send officers telling them, hey, don't look in this anymore. Similar with Jaylon Banks and her brother, same thing. Murder, which was domestic violence in this instance, was ruled as a suicide, right? And so these families are fighting for justice in their sons. You know, these are families part of the community, and at every single turn, NOPD has attempted to silence them. And frankly, as somebody who just last night was going to a student protest and had TUPD and NOPD roll up on this scene and immediately start inflicting violence. I saw people in chokeholds, right, being punched. I was shoved around. My voice is a little messed up right now because I was shoved in the throat, so I apologize. But NOPD has really not done the work to engage with this community, but rather has done the opposite, has repressed the community in every turn, whether it be in personal cases or whether it be them rolling up on the students every time that they be talking. They are really not interested in hearing the community's voices.
So, how do you respond to people who say that sounds like another cost that New Orleans can't afford? And this is before the recent $160 million plus deficit, feeling like that is not a cost that the city needs to bear. I mean, in Chicago, it's become a system within the system to have citizen council and oversight, and to the point where they're hiring someone to lead that effort with city taxpayer funds. Do you think we need city taxpayer funds for an administrator of a police oversight and accountability office when we have a police monitor?
Absolutely. I cannot overstate it enough. The Office of Independent Police Monitor has no teeth. They work alongside police officers. I have worked personally alongside Stella, in the case post a student encampment, as one of the students that was arrested. And all that we could do was, throw in our reports. And all she could do essentially was be like, hey, so this happened, right? Families have worked alongside the Office of the Independent Police Monitor and have shown that, like, hey, Stella is not working for us, which is why that we have to do direct action and protest and put pressure with these families, because Stella doesn't have the teeth to do that. And this is not an individual attack on Stella herself. It's on the office. Like, they weren't given the oversight. They weren't given that reach. And House Stella's appointed, like, that has no say over the community. So it doesn't represent us in any aspect. And the families genuinely want to be represented by, like, a civilian police accountability council. They don't want to be just represented by, like, one singular person, but a genuine body of people who represent the people's interests.
Well, just for comparison's sake, I can't remember the funding for the Independent Police Monitor, but in Chicago, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability is looking for a chief administrator. That one job would be $200,000. Do you feel like we should have someone of that caliber and experience to earn a salary like that to oversee the type of operation that you're pursuing? Maybe you didn't know they're going to make $200,000. That's the
Listen,
I can't even really fully
I can't even really fully conceptualize $200,000.
Hello? Keep talking.
All right. Can you hear me?
Keep talking.
All right. Well, I can't even really fully conceptualize the notion of $200,000. Right? But what I'm going to be saying is not necessarily touching on the specific salary, right? Because I can't touch on that. I can't touch on things that I don't know. But when we're talking about dedicating money and funds to like community oversight, we're already like looking at the budget of NOPD, right? Like if we're looking about where our finances need to come from, like where our money needs to come from, um, I've got to say, oversight of the police is worth the money. It's worth the money. Community members feeling like they have a say about the pure blatant corruption in NOPD, that's worth it. Like the safety of not just me, but my community members, that every single time is going to be worth it. Um, yeah, I mean, like our taxpayers unfortunately pay. We also paid like for Angola and stuff like that. Like, there are worse things to be spending our taxpayer dollars on, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. All right. So tell us about what happened on November 1st, Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. On November 1st, we had people rallying in front of the federal building, protesting. We were saying no troops, no Trump. We were protesting the Landry requesting Trump. That's the thing with our governor. Landry requested Trump to send the National Guard to New Orleans, saying that Trump saying he needs to fight the enemy from within the U.S., saying that we have a fine state, but New Orleans essentially is the problem child of Louisiana. And why is that? Right? Because we're a Democratic city within a Republican state. But the reason why Landry's requesting it is also because of that. He wants to have a political foothold, but more importantly, he wants us to be scared, right? Trump is sending these troops to majority black and brown cities because he is attempting to oppress and to make us scared. And in every single one of these cities, we are also seeing that is coupled with an increased ICE presence, right? So at the same time that they're kidnapping mothers, fathers, children's daughters, kidnapping people away from their families due to an assumed immigration status, we are also seeing that they're sending the National Guard to us, like in the hundreds, to these streets, like to these cities. And what we are seeing in Chicago, in DC, in LA, we are seeing an outpouring, and just like an absolute outpouring of people standing up and fighting back, which is why we ended up having to rally November 1st. This is one of 3 actions we've had so far. Every time that Landry, so much as Trump the first time, early September, he said he was just even thinking of sending some troops to New Orleans. We were like, oh, we're about to be in the streets because there's no way that Trump is going to be sending troops here. And when Landry requested it, similarly, we got on the streets. When they said that, because they've been saying right about now that there is going to be troops on the ground by Thanksgiving, if the federal government starts running, right, by Thanksgiving, they're going to be sending National Guard troops at a time when people are getting their SNAP benefits cut, right, when people are going to be desperate for food. And the reason why we've been on these streets all these times is because we believe that we need to get ahead of it. The best way to get ready is to stay ready. And we believe our job right now is to be organized and to get organized and to get people out in the streets so that when the National Guard does come, we're not just scrambling to get ready. We already know what to do. We have community members that we trust. We have organizations that we trust. And we are becoming one united force to take a stand against Trump and Landry's racist agenda to be sending these troops to majority black and brown cities, and that we are going to be there for community members. We're going to be out on those streets. And nationally, part of the National Alliance Against Race Political Oppression, NARPR, has been leading this front. And so we also stand in solidarity with our sister chapters who are leading the charge in D.C., Chicago, and L.A. And recently we've been seeing our own comrades be arrested in D.C. who've been leading up the charge. And notably, because the community fought with them, they've been released.
Okay. So your stand is no National Guard troops in the city. But
yes,
we have had National Guard troops in the city
yes, we have.
on a regular basis. So is your issue with what role they might fill while in New Orleans, and what is it that you don't want to see them do, and what would be acceptable if you know they're coming anyway?
That's a great question. At the end of the day, I don't want the National Guard troops here wherever, right? We're already dealing with so much police crime just with NOPD. There is no reason why we need further law enforcement. You know, the National Guard also came out earlier this year in January during the Super Bowl because Trump was here, right? And this was post the tragedy that happened on New Year's this year. And so the National Guard came out, and you know, we did that also. We hit the streets, right? Because at this point in time, you know, today is a little bit unique when they're threatening to send in the guards, right? This is just such a blatant act of repression, right? They are coming to combat like people on the streets, right? People are out there being like, hey, fighting against ICE, fighting against the troops. And the whole function of the National Guard right now is to play like the most absolute force of law enforcement, you know, is to try to make people scared to get out of their homes, is to try to make people feel like they don't have a say to combat whatever Trump is doing in office, right, which is take away our health care, which is to take away our SNAP benefits. People are angry, and he is sending in these National Guard troops to say, hey, we don't want you to do anything. You can't do anything. And we are out here saying that is false. We can do something. And what we're going to be doing is hitting the streets, getting organized, and pushing back at every turn, because who got the power? We got the power. And that power is people power.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people want to get in touch and be involved, how can they contact you or someone else with the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. The way to best get in contact us if you're wanting to get involved is going to Instagram, and it's going to be the NO Alliance. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be N.O.Alliance. And that is our Instagram, sending us a DM. But most importantly, notably, this Thursday is going to be our open general meeting. On Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Healing Center, room 258. So if people really want to get involved, join to the organization. If you're like, hey, I'm not sure, go to this general meeting. You can just hear the laydown of what we're doing, which we have several campaigns going. It's a campaign for the CPAC. It's our campaign for No Troops, No Trump, and we're building that coalition. And then it is also working with the families to make sure that they get justice for their families. So if any of those things sound appealing, shoot us a DM on Instagram and show up to our general meeting this Thursday.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, representing New Orleans Alliance Against Racial and Political Repression, the official local chapter of the national organization. We look forward to seeing how things progress, especially in a very different fiscal climate with the city of New Orleans, but we know advocacy is important for making significant bits of change all along the way. Thank you once again, and we appreciate your coming and sharing some time with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Have a blessed day. Good morning, New Orleans, and welcome to the Good Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, and for those of you all who have continued to tune in, thank you so much for staying tuned. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. I am Will Sutton. It's 8:27 a.m. If you got somewhere to be at 8:30, I hope it's on the other side of the bed, because you only have 3 minutes. And no, it is not 9:27. So if you think it's 9:27, time to change your clocks. You were supposed to fall back with the time. And it's not 9:27, it's 8:27. School zone is still in effect until 9. So please, please, please keep the babies in mind. Please keep the babies in mind as you go about your business. If you're getting on the road, the byways and highways, our streets, watch out for the babies as they go to school, and watch out for the parents and the guardians and the staff, teachers and the assistant principals who are helping them get into the school and get on with their respective days. So that was a good conversation with Yvonne from New Orleans Alliance of Racist and Political Repression. They have a meeting at 6 p.m. on Thursday at the Healing Center if you're interested in finding out more about what they're doing. And remember that there is opportunity for those who need some food to pick up a plate at 5 p.m. today at the Mother-in-Law Lounge, courtesy of Kermit Ruffins and his crew. That will be 5 p.m. today and each day this week through Thursday, Monday through Thursday this week, and throughout the month of November, Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. I would like somebody from Mother-in-Law Lounge or Kermit Ruffins or someone to call in and let us know. Monday through Thursday in a couple of weeks will include Thanksgiving. So are there plates on Thanksgiving Day? And is that the same time at 5 p.m.? Who knows the answer to that question? And I'd love to hear from Reverend Calhoun or anybody who attended the candidates' meet and greet at the Food Lab on St. Claude last night. There were candidates were scheduled to come. We'd love to know who actually showed up, because to me that's indicative of their interest in seeking the support of voters and getting their votes. Would love to know how things went at the Food Lab last night for the candidates meet and greet. We also have a number of other things that have been going on as the city of New Orleans continues to look for ways to fill the gaps financially. So the city council representatives are scheduling a meeting with some state officials to figure out what can be done short of the demands of having a fiscal administrator take over the city. And that might include any number of things. So the city council president, J.P. Morrell, the city council vice president and mayor-elect, Helena Moreno, and the city council budget chair, city councilman Joe Giarrusso, are scheduling to meet with some state officials to figure out how they can strike a deal to get some state support to help get us through this very tough time. We had sought, the city had sought, city council had sought $125 million in emergency bonds, but that was scuttled by state officials and said they wouldn't approve it. So city council withdrew that request. And they withdrew that because they didn't want to say yes to a fiscal administrator taking over the city. So now they're attempting to revive some part of that plan in some way with a meeting tomorrow with some state officials to figure out what might be acceptable, what might be good for the city and for the state, with the state's desire to have some better oversight and understanding of what's going on, and with the city wanting to keep control over the city and yet be transparent to let state officials and the public know what's going on with the money and how we're going to pull out of this. So Mayor-elect Helena Moreno will be a part of that meeting. And according to the reporting of Blake Patterson at NOLA.com, it's unclear whether incumbent Mayor LaToya Cantrell will be a part of that meeting. But in a text to Blake from Helena Moreno, she said she's looking for, quote, a workable oversight plan to make everyone comfortable. And she also said, I welcome this approach because it will ensure that the current administration is responsible with spending and fits with my incoming administration's plan to operate with much greater transparency and accountability. So it's not really clear who all will be in the meeting tomorrow, but based on Blake Patterson's reporting, it seems the Attorney General, Liz Murrow, the Treasurer, John Fleming, and Louisiana Legislative Auditor, Mike Wagasback, will be there. And it's unclear whether the Governor Jeff Landry, will be there. Now, Senate President Cameron Henry from Metairie helped pull together this meeting. So we assume he'd be likely there, but it's not clear if he will be there. It is clear that if state officials don't change course, and if the local officials have to continue looking for ways to fund payroll for 5,000 city employees each 2 weeks through the end of this year, that is going to be a big challenge. And part of that might have to look at going into the rainy day fund. There is $37 million in that rainy day fund, and it is intended for emergencies and emergencies only, as defined in the charter, and only a 2/3 vote of city council members can agree to tap into that rainy day fund. So tapping into a rainy day fund is not something that you want to do. Anybody who's handled family finances knows that when you put something into a rainy day fund, a savings account, it's not where you want to go to buy a new TV set or listen to me, showing my age, not to buy a new television monitor or a computer, and it's not even where you want to go to buy groceries, because it's a savings account or a set of savings accounts or a rainy day fund for a reason. And it shouldn't be used for things like that. So there are a lot of places that maybe the city council can look with the city administration, but on Monday, yesterday, the board of the New Orleans Building Corp, which leases and develops and operates city-owned properties, held a special meeting to approve sending $6.5 million in excess funds to the city. So that's a good move. That's helpful. When that money will be sent, I'm not sure. Why 6.5 million? I'm not sure. But 6.5 million certainly would be helpful for paying payroll for the people who work for us day in and day out. That would be $6.5 million more than the $5 million that were sent in July. And but the corporation, again, that's the New Orleans Building Corporation, and they lease, develop, and operate city-owned properties. They historically wait until the beginning of a new year to send any money to the city. But Mayor Cantrell's administration asked them to send that money a bit sooner because we need it to make payroll and to handle other business. So officials are also looking at how they can redirect about $45 million in unspent federal aid from the American Rescue Plan Act, and how to get that back into the city coffers to help alleviate the cash crunch. Those funds have already been obligated, but the checks have not gone out the door, according to City Council Budget Chair Joe Giarrusso. So yet another pocket of money, not a small pocket, $45 million, that could be very helpful, but need the funds to be allocated and sent if we're going to have that make a bit of a difference. So we're also looking at about $2.5 million in ARPA cash. That would help for a planned football stadium. Anki Philco, WBOK, and former city council member and more, has been a part of that effort. And he said they're hoping to start construction next year, but he hasn't heard whether that particular project will be vulnerable as the city goes through these fiscal challenges. But they are still committed to the Ninth Ward Athletic Center and moving that forward. And that includes having $2.5 million from the city, because that money is critical to other funds that would be needed for helping that project continue on track and to get it underway, get it under construction. So another opportunity that city officials are looking at is the Opportunity Pass pilot program. And that's the one where New Orleans residents who are 16 to 24 can get free public transit on RTA. Now, that helps them move from place to place. If they're in high school, and maybe they have split days and go to two different high schools, or go to high school in the morning and work in the afternoon, or in the case of a student in college, or a student who's not in college but working, if they're 16 to 24, they can take advantage of the Opportunity Pass pilot program. And it is a pilot program. So it is not a guarantee that it will be continuing, but there have been 7,500 youth who signed up for the program. And that's a good thing. But it's a lifeline, according to Courtney Jackson, Executive Director of the Transit Advocacy Group, RIDE, New Orleans, for students in particular who need to get to work. 7,500 youth signed up for that program. And just with the sign up, that indicates there obviously is a need, but with a pilot program, if you don't have the money to continue the pilot program, you might not get the full opportunity to have an assessment and evaluation to find out where things have gone well and where they are not. So Ms. Jackson, again from RIDE New Orleans, said, imagine waking up tomorrow and hearing that a program you rely on to help you take care of yourself has been cut. We understand the city council is in a really tight spot and doing the very best they can, but reallocating ARPA funds from youth-serving programs will devastate an already vulnerable group of people. So we don't have answers from the mayor's office, city administration, as we continue down this path of fiscal fixing that will get us through the end of this year and position us for next year with a budget. So that budget that city council is working on this fall does not fix the problems for the remainder of this calendar year. So that is a separate but very much related issue, because the new administration, the new city council need to know how much money will be available, what are the anticipated revenues, and how they can best look at the opportunity to get through this year, one set of issues, move into the next year with a budget that can work, and with your consideration, move into next year knowing that voters have approved or rejected the three propositions on the ballot. So those are not tied to the current fiscal fiasco, but remember there's a $45 million bond request for affordable housing, and there is a $415 million bond request. That's Proposition 2 for city infrastructure. And Proposition 3 is $50 million bond request for drainage and stormwater management. So you can look for those on your ballot, whether you vote early, have voted early already, or vote early today, or through the end of early voting on Saturday, the November 8th. And then the next opportunity will be via mail ballot or the opportunity for voting on Election Day itself, November 15th. So let's turn gears now for a moment, and I'm sure a lot of you remember the name Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney. Anybody remember Dick Cheney? Former congressman for about 10 years out of representing Wyoming. And he served in both Bush administrations. And matter of fact, under George W. Bush, he was vice president. He was the nation's 46th vice president. Some people say he was the president. Other people say he was just a really strong vice president and George W. Bush's right-hand man. Well, the report is that Dick Cheney has died. He died at age 84. That's a good long life. He has been known as a hard-charging conservative most of his career and his life. He died yesterday due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease, according to his family, which issued the statement this morning. Cheney served father and son presidents, both George H.W. Bush as defense chief, and that was during the Persian Gulf War days. And then he returned to, he went and worked for Halliburton. You've heard that name, I'm sure. But he also became the younger Bush, George W. Bush, chief operating officer as vice president. And he continued in those jobs, having a history, long history of heart disease. And after that administration, after the Bush administration term, he had a heart transplant. But he was crucial with setting policies and driving the nation, in his view, rightward and rightward, with issues of surveillance and detention, inquisitions, and a lot of that in response to the 9/11 attack in 2001. The second Bush, George W. Bush, called his friend, his former vice president, a decent, honorable man, and a loss to this nation. In his statement, the former president said, "History will remember him as among the finest public servants of his generation, a patriot who brought integrity, high intelligence, and seriousness of purpose to every position he held." So that's quite a set of comments from the former president. Of course, he did work with him closely and got him through a lot of challenges and a lot of criticisms, and Cheney took a lot of that heat. I wonder if any of you all remember Dick Cheney. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. Dick Cheney was the target of Donald Trump, as was his daughter, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who was a part of the looking at Trump and the January 6, 2021 riot at, on Capitol Hill at the Capitol. And Liz Cheney was a part of pursuing the truth and seeing to it that Donald Trump was due to him via Congress, yet did not be officially criminally charged and investigated and serve any time. So in a television ad for his daughter, Dick Cheney, when Liz Cheney was running for re-election, facing an uphill battle because Trump was all out to end her political career, Dick Cheney said in a television ad that for some people, reestablishing him as a decent human being. In that commercial, he said, in our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward, close quote. Strong words from a man who worked at the various levels of government, including the highest level of government as vice president. And so determined was he that Trump was not good for this country that he recorded a television ad in support of his daughter, Liz Cheney, to let people know why it was important to vote for her and let her continue her work. Of course, she lost that job, and Trump's been on the outs with the Cheneys since then. And I have not seen yet any word from the President of these United States about Dick Cheney's death. And perhaps we won't. Because if he does say something, I wonder what the heck he would say about a man that he despised. I mean, he literally despised Dick Cheney. And his idea of public grief seems to be far different from any of our previous presidents, even when people they disagreed with, prominent people that they disagreed with, died. They often would have a comforting comment for the family and the friends of the deceased. But not this president, at least not yet. So we'll see if he has anything to say, or, should he even say anything? Maybe it's best that he just keep his mouth shut. What do you think? Should the president of these United States have something to say about the death of Dick Cheney? Or is it better that we know where he stood on Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and just keep his mouth shut? The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. If you got something to say about Dick Cheney or the Food Lab candidates meet and greet last night, or what's happening with the schools and special education, or perhaps you've got some other things that are on your mind, brought up by Yvonne from the New Orleans Alliance Against Racist Oversight, Racist and Political Repression. Got it right. New Orleans Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Do you think there should be police oversight? Or is our police department doing a good enough job pursuing mutual trust? What's your thinking? We can hear you right now at the WBOK talk line, 504-582-9422. I do want to let you know that a number of New Orleans school buildings have been sold. They have been sold, but for not as much as they should have been sold for. But whose responsibility is that? Right now, we're going to take a call. Pop Jones, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Oh well.
Might want to turn down
What
the
is
radio.
going on with Cheney? What's the former vice president?
He died, Pops.
He died?
He died. He died last night, and the family announced it this morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he died. He was 84 years old.
84 years old.
84. Good long life.
Was he saying something against the president or something?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He did not like Donald Trump and did not want to see Donald Trump elected, and wanted to see Donald Trump impeached. And so he was not on good terms with Donald Trump. And this is from a staunch conservative Republican, Dick
Oh,
Cheney.
yeah, I do recall that.
Yep.
So in other words, he's not going to show him any respect.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, Pops. I mean, I have not seen him say a word about Dick Cheney. Do you think he should? Or should he keep his mouth shut?
Look, does the rattle up cheese? Look, well, knowing how he feels about those that he figures that's against him and his enemy, he's known to punish him. And I doubt very seriously whether he's going to have anything that he could block or say anything good or block. Now, normally, if you've been a former vice president, what is it that you normally give to a former vice president when he passed? Do you bring him to the Capitol and stuff like this? How does it work, Will?
Well, I don't think that's the norm. I'm drawing a blank on any vice president who has had that, but that's a good question. I'm going to look into that so I can let you all know about that.
Mm-hmm. So I can imagine what you think, Will. I mean, you think if anything that could be done to show him some honor, do you think it would be done?
I'm not sure that this president is capable of that.
Oh,
but if
hallelujah, hallelujah.
If the people around him thinks he should say something, it might be best for him not to say it, but for them to write it for him, so that it comes across in a way that is respectful of his enemy.
Oh, well, you're so wise. That's why I listen to WBOK. Yes,
I mean, the way the man talks and gets so unhinged and surprises even his supporters and staffers around him. If he just gets before Mike and start talking about Dick Cheney, he's likely to talk about him the way that he has talked about other foes in the past. And
you got to remember his daughter, Lynn Cheney, too.
That's right. Absolutely. I miss.
Oh, that's a double whammy.
Yeah, Dick Cheney's not been any favorite of mine, but I said Dick Cheney's not been any favorite of mine, but I would not.
No.
But I would not use this time to jump on him in the way that the president might be inclined to. Hey, Pop, I'm going to get another call in before we have to go and make.
All right. Thank you very much for taking my call, Will.
Have a blessed day. Ms. Jones, Will Sutton on the Good Morning Show. Welcome.
Yeah,
we only have a minute
Jones,
or so. What you got?
Will Sutton to everybody else that's listening, and hope that they draw more people to listen to keep BOK going. As far as Trump is concerned, don't even think of it. He's a robot. So he's not going to do any better, not going to know any better. But for people who know better, they ought to do better and differently. Don't even think about Trump. Just think of it as Little Donald. Maybe that'll bring him down.
Yeah.
Little Donald, because things are totally abnormal as they are now. Definitely.
Yeah.
Anytime you're going to follow somebody who's going to call the veterans stupid losers and what have you, and military kill police and then want them to do the dirty work, that's somebody behind the scenes. Think of him as a robot. Because even at the worst, you wouldn't be doing things to destroy your own country. So, and as for voting, with that runoff, think about the man who has been through the mills, not being able to get his records. That's real. Serving 28 years, I've known of people served 41 years for something that was undone.
I hear you.
Think twice when you go to that poll. You want somebody who's been through the mills of it. Master experience is the master teacher. I think that's what they say. So he's experienced.
All right.
And whether you say about records being hard to get them, that is real, people. Pass the word. Don't wait until your loved ones get arrested, serving time in Angola for something that they didn't do. Not that everybody's innocent, but they're innocent people.
All right, Ms. Jones, we're going to have to go and make way for the front porch. I appreciate you calling in, and you have a blessed day.
You too, and to all the listening audience, be thankful for the food that you have, the water that you drink, and stop being wasteful because times are very critical now.
Absolutely.
Help families and join together with each other. Do not be wasteful.
All right. Well, you have a blessed day. Thank you so much. And I do want to remind you all that there is a big election for the New York City mayor today. The polls will close at 8 p.m. our time. There's a big election in New Jersey for the New Jersey governorship, and those polls also will close tonight. And we also have a big race for the Virginia governor, seen as a likely idea of where this country is going, Democrat or Republican, progressive or conservative. Those polls close at 6 p.m. tonight. So be on the lookout for those things. Meanwhile, it is right at 9 a.m., and it's time for the front porch. This is Will Sutton, WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long until the front porch walks in the door so they can keep things going right here at WBOK. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 582-9422, 504-582-9422. Lord willing, I'll be back here to join you again tomorrow morning. And stay tuned for the front porch coming up in just moments so that you can enjoy a little different sense of this New Orleans culture.